everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our yarn rooms. I usually say welcome to my yarn room, but I love your yarn room.
Thanks.
I love that you've got all your little friends that you've made back behind you.
Thanks. Yeah, they're everywhere. It's getting to the point where I've made so many, they're kind of just like crowding in on me.
So cute. So for those of you who don't know, this is Ashley Parker, otherwise known as the Loopy Lamb. And you've been on the show as here and with Kim and the Yarn Hookers, I think, with everyone. So I think that a lot of the people in the chat will know you too. Very exciting. And I, of course, am the yarn geek. So, you know, there's that. It's so exciting whenever you come to the show because I'm like, I did my very first live ever with you.
It's true. I believe that was my first live too. I think we both did our first lives together.
That's right.
Yeah, I was a nervous wreck.
Wow. I was too. I was like, I hope I don't do anything dumb.
And if you want to see that video,
it is on Ashley's channel. You are going to want to go take a look at it.
And then come back here and tell us how much better we are.
Yeah, that's right. Tell us how much more natural we are in front of the camera.
I did this Polly Pumpkin and released him. He has a step-by-step video tutorial, and this is a seamless toy. Like there's no sewing or anything. And you can also make him, you know, without the face if you'd like. That was the most recent one. I'm always designing toys. Just some of them are for that big secret project right now that, you know, they haven't released.
Right. That is a secret.
All the
But we're going to keep trying to guess what it is.
I keep telling every time, I don't know how I get myself wrapped into all these secret projects because I'm the worst at keeping a secret. Ever since we signed the contract, I'm like, when can I tell people? Now? Like, it's not even dry. Like, chill out.
chill out. It's not going to be till next fall. It's going to be a whole year.
Well, that's the thing. Like, and we'll start advertising it earlier than that, like before it's released. Sure. However, you know, they're like, you need to just like relax a little bit. They're so nice. They're like, you know, we understand the excitement. I'm like, you really don't.
You don't know the powers of my mouth.
It's like, I am an adult-sized child. Okay. I am busting to tell everybody.
But that makes it fun too, because it's like, that's a secret.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jamie asked, what size hook would that little Pauline be made from?
Polly is made with a 3.5 millimeter hook and a worsted weight yarn. And if you bear with me a second, you can also make him with the jumbo yarns, because I know that's the trend right now. This one was
I like that one.
This was made with a blanket yarn and an 8 millimeter hook.
Okay.
And the same pattern.
And those are the patterns that you have, like that's the pattern you have the tutorial for?
Yes.
And it's, don't you like put up all your patterns free on your blog?
Yes. Like I do have the occasional paid pattern that I put up when I need to kind of generate more income to cover costs for the blog. But 99% of my patterns are free, and I'm trying to create more step-by-step videos to go along with the patterns as well.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I got to tell you, this is a little off topic, but there's a big cedar tree right outside my window, and I'm on the second floor, and I see a little nest of squirrels. There's like a squirrel all around in the tree, and it's so cute. Then I was thinking, have you made a amigurumi squirrel yet?
I actually did. When I first started crocheting, I actually was doing custom orders, and I didn't know at the time that what I was doing was designing. And so I designed my own squirrel, but I just never released it. I got busy, and I'm like, yeah, I should do that squirrel. I should like finally get it all done and tested and everything. And then I'm like, oh, look, something new. And I totally forget about it, but I have done it. It just hasn't been out yet.
Tracy says, I appreciate Ashley. She's really helped me learn amigurumi. You're a
great teacher, Ashley. I'm glad I've been helpful.
How did you start? How did you start crocheting and knitting and everything? Or
So
not knitting, but
well, I knit, not as much because I like crochet better.
mm-hmm.
Actually, it's funny. I actually started out knitting and then went to crochet.
Mm-hmm.
So after I had my son, I had really bad postpartum depression to the point where I was like afraid to go to sleep for days at a time. And it was really bad. And my doctor at the time just kind of like kept brushing it off and telling me like I was fine. And I knew I wasn't fine.
Right.
And so I was talking to a friend and they're like, well, you should try something to keep your hands busy, see if that will help. Just to help kind of pause the inner monologue for a little bit. So when I was a kid, I tried knitting and I was okay. Didn't learn too much. Crochet just never stuck. It was just like, boop, this is way too hard. And so it just never worked. So I started loom knitting because that was really accessible. I didn't need a lot. And I started like designing my own hats. Again, didn't know I was designing. I'm just like, I'm going to make this up. And I was doing like Farrell hats and stuff. And it was, it was great. But then I was just like, it's not a challenge anymore. I want to do something different. And I kept seeing all this great crochet stuff on Pinterest. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And I remember sitting on the beach where our family goes, all of us go up to this cottage every year. And we're all sitting on the beach and my husband's aunt was crocheting. And I'm like, you know how to crochet? Teach me. And she's like, honestly, she's like, I don't even know what I'm doing. She's like, I just like make a fabric. I don't even know what this stitch is called. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I thought it was like a weird way of brushing me off, but I'm like, okay. Cause like, you're making it happen. You're making a blanket, but okay.
Right.
And so then later that night we're talking and she's like, you know what? I think Michael's takes classes. We should go and take a Michael's class. I'm like, let's do it. And so we did. So we went and took a Michael's class. It was like one of my first times out of the house since having my son. I was just like a wreck. And all of the time, because I had kept trying by myself, it wasn't clicking. I went and took one class and everything made sense. It was like one of those like Twilight Zone moments. I'm like, everything makes sense now. And I came back to the second class and I'd crocheted a bonnet. I had like started all these other projects and the teacher's like, what?
Who are you?
Yeah, she's like, didn't you not know even where to put the hook last week? I'm like, yeah, but look at this cool bonnet I just made. And then I was that in second class, instead of doing what she had suggested, I ended up making an octopus. And she's like, yeah, we can do some more complex things if you want. And my aunt's like, I don't think you need to go back.
Yeah.
I started getting all these books from the library. They thought I was crazy. I took like every crochet book out at once.
Nice.
And then I just couldn't stop.
Because we don't know what it's like to overdo it, do we?
No, absolutely not.
No. What was your very favorite first thing you ever made?
I don't know. I made a lot right in the beginning. I think maybe I made this little lamb hat by All About Amy for my daughter. And she wore it everywhere and she loved it. And that hat is actually what kind of started me thinking about crochet as a career, because she'd wear the hat out because it's, it's Canada, it's cold. Right. And people would pull us aside and go, oh my God, where did you get that hat? And I'm like, oh, I made it. And they're like, can you make me one? I'm like, yeah, I don't know you, but I guess. And then like, I'll pay you. I'll pay you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. And so I thought that was amazing. And then people started asking me all the time, will you make me this? Will you make me this? And then I just started selling crochet stuff.
Is that the hat that has the popcorn stitches
and the little bobble
ears? Oh, that's such a cute hat.
Yeah, she looked so cute in it. Oh my gosh, when she outgrew it, I'm like, I'm going to make you this hat every year until you're 70 and I can't hold a hook anymore. And Steve's like, okay, like calm down.
10 years from now on Instagram, you'll be posting pictures of your daughter going to high school with that hat on.
I should.
Jessica says, I want to try amigurumi, but I am scared that I will sew the arms and legs on crooked or mess it up somehow.
So The one thing I will say is, like, when I started Amigurumi, my first one was a mess, like disastrous proportions. I wish I still had it. But at the time I was so proud of it. I gifted it to a friend and I was like, you will love this. Mm-hmm. Like, they had no choice. They had to love it. Anyways, right. But if you would like, on my blog, I have a post that's called How to Improve Your Amigurumi. And it specifically focuses on sewing, on using pins to get the placement of your arms and legs for your amigurumi correct. And it holds your pieces in place. And because they're pins, you can like pop them off and move them around until you get the placement right. And that's what I do. Like, for instance, this doll here, this one specifically, I'm looking at you, Amy. And she and I had quite the argument about the arms because I kept thinking I've got the good placement. I'd start sewing and be like, darn it, follow my own advice and use the pins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do have an article on that, and I'm working actually on a tutorial on sewing on the arms and the legs, as I've had a lot of requests for that lately.
Like, if somebody were just starting out, didn't know anything about crocheting or amigurumi, like they really wanted to make your amigurumis.
Okay.
Because you've got cute amigurumis. What would you, how would you tell them to go about it? Like, what would they look at your blog post first, or would they go onto your YouTube?
If like, and we're talking like zero experience, you can hold a hook and yarn and that's it. I'd say go to the YouTube channel, find one of the beginner amigurumis like Bob and Betty Bird or Polly Pumpkin. One of the more basic ones, you're going to probably be like, I want to make this doll. Don't do it. Go to the really, really beginner ones, like the smaller ones, and then move up to the bigger projects like the dolls with the clothes and stuff, because they do become a more complex because you have to match gauge. Just like for real people clothes, you have to match gauge to fit it on the person or the doll.
Wow. Can you show everybody some of the things that you've made in the background? The little faux fur dolls are just crazy. They look like they're actual like stuffed animals made with fur.
All right, I got a whole bunch of them here.
They are so cute.
All right.
Alice says, if you mess it up, then you have a cute creature to keep you company.
It's true. And I find, like, especially like now that we're talking about the fur projects, people are like, oh, I can't feel my stitches. I've had people like actually scream at me because they've struggled so much with the fur. Ooh. And when they're freaking out, all I hear is, you're afraid to fail. I get that. I totally get that. However, it's for most people, it's just a hobby. You can pull it out. You can frog your project if it's not working. And if you mess it up, you mess it up. I mean, with fur, it's really hard to mess up because you can't see anything. And that's what I love about it, is you can have the sloppiest seams in the world and nobody can tell because the fur covers it up. So I have a personal philosophy, and I hope other people hear it and adopt it, is that if it scares you or you're afraid to fail, you should absolutely do it, and you should absolutely try it. And if you fail, do it again, because the practice makes perfect and you'll get there.
I exactly agree. You just keep on trying. You keep, and every time you try, you'll get, even if you just get 1% better.
I mean, it took me years to learn how to do a single crochet stitch. And now I'm designing toys, and this is what I do for a living. So as long as you persevere and you don't just, toss the hook and say, forget this, and this is what I get so often with the fur yarn, is like, this is impossible. And I'm just like, no, it isn't. I'm not doing anything different than you are. I just take a deep breath, and I have a lot of patience.
Right. Yeah. You have to. When you're teaching people, you have to have a lot of patience.
Right.
That's what Michelle agrees. She says, I keep telling people, you must fail to learn. That's how we learn.
Look at history. A lot of the greatest failures have turned out to be like huge successes, right? And those things wouldn't exist without that failure happening.
Exactly.
So you never know. Just, all you can do is practice.
And that little guy is so so cute. That's my spirit animal.
Yes, this is Seth the Sloth. He is one of my absolute favorites.
Love him. His little face.
I know. And then this is my other favorite. I messed up his face a little bit. This is Otis, the owl.
I just love the way the fur yarn is white on the inside, so it like looks really like an owl's eyes.
Yeah, it just highlights the eyes. And then just this is Bearson Bear. This was designed for my son because he wanted a classic teddy bear, and so he has a matching one that he sleeps with.
And, this is my favorite.
This I always put him on my head. This is Tarantula.
He's perfect. He would forget the bunny, which by the way, somebody wants to know how she can get that pattern, the bunny hat pattern. Just
the lamb hat.
Yes,
that's on the All About Ami AMI website.
Okay,
blog. There.
All About Ami. Everybody remember that because I'm gonna forget. I won't forget it. I just ask you tomorrow.
As they just messaged me. And then this is Parker Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
I love him.
He's adorable. I remember when you first made him, and everybody would, and I think you came on one of the lives when you first made him.
Yes.
And
I just come back from vacation. I had just designed him.
Yeah.
We're talking about how my husband jokes that I'm like a Christmas elf because he goes to sleep and he wakes up and there's a new toy in the house. If anybody wants to try their hand at fur yarn, but is afraid of getting into amigurumi, I have these as a free pattern, and I forgot my cat ears upstairs, but this is just a headband that I made little bear ears for. And I have cat ears. They're both available for free. And I think it's the bear ears that I have a video tutorial for as well. So you can
over here on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, I love all the things. Now, what are all of the different things you do on your YouTube channel?
Well, I do book reviews, yarn reviews, tutorials, and like besides just like stitch tutorials and technique tutorials, I also do step-by-step patterns.
And I've noticed that on your Instagram reels, you do a lot of stitch tutorials.
Yes, I've been trying to do those, see if there's enough interest in them. Like yesterday I did one for how to do the single crochet join where you can eliminate the slip stitch and just join with a single crochet.
The first one I think I watched of your book reviews were the little was it the food one? I don't know, of the little, like the little tiny amigurumi.
I've done a couple of like micro.
Yeah.
The micro kit.
Yeah, and I was like, how can people even do the very little things? Have you ever made the little tiny amigurumis like that?
I did. I made one from that kit for the review. It wasn't too bad. I did for my second one. I tried to do the one with the black thread. Forget it. The black was really hard. But the other ones, like, you just really need a lot of patience, and it didn't look great. I was capable of doing it, but you need to practice because your tension will change dramatically crocheting at such a small and small gauge that it's not going to be perfect the first time. So I tried a couple times. It was, they turned out okay, not to what I wanted. And I was like, what? I'm just not enjoying this process as much as I want to. I much, prefer to make a cuddle size toy or something like that. So it's not impossible. It's just like anything when you're learning something new is that you have to have patience with yourself.
Well, thank you
for having me.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming. I love it. And I love it that you've spent most of the time in your bear ears. I was like, oh my gosh, you're adorable.
It's like I'm kind of regretting that I left the cat ears upstairs because I would have gone with my leopard print, but I mean, can't be too picky, I guess.
That would have been perfect. You just have little round ears. Okay, well, thanks again for coming, and everybody watching. Thank you so much for hanging out and talking to us, and everybody who's watching in the replay. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you later. And check out Ashley on Instagram. She's awesome.
Yeah. Come send me a message. Love to connect with you. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Bye.